Hi everyone, welcome to the third webinar of a series of webinars and workshops conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming operational case study examinations happening in November 2023. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's try to figure out the areas which I'm going to cover in today's session. Today's session is going to be a bit long. It would go on for something like 1.5 minutes, 1.5 hours rather. Mainly because of the fact that we have to get so many things done within this webinar. So I will be highlighting answering and time management techniques. I'll, explain how you are supposed to develop answer structures or plan your answers appropriately. At the same time, focusing on how to manage your time, because most students end up failing the exam because they are, clueless about how to manage time. So if you run out of time at your exam, out of the 4 tasks, even if you run out of time for just one task, then your chances of passing the exam is extremely low. So I'll be talking about how to achieve these things properly. Then based on the mini mock, I will also highlight how to apply answering and time management techniques, and based on it I will also explain you the logic behind each answer whilst teaching you theory which are relevant to each and every area. And in the last part of today's session, I will be highlighting about what you need to do to rebound from failure, especially if you failed the exam in the previous sitting. I will tell you what you need to do to overcome your failures this time and ensure a sure pass. All right, so let me quickly remind you about the OCS webinars and workshops which we have scheduled. So we are done with 2 webinars so far, and this is the third webinar, as you already know. And in the fourth webinar, exam prep, I will be taking you through the comments made by the CIMA examiner, because it's of utmost importance that you understand what is expected from you. So I'll be taking you through the comments, and on top of that, I will also highlight what you need to do to develop a high level of confidence both before the exam as well as whilst attempting your real exam. And the Q&A sessions, we are conducting 2 Q&A sessions. In the Q&A sessions, you are supposed to raise your questions, because by the time you attend the first Q&A session, you should be done with OCS mocks 3 or 4. So by that time, you definitely have questions. If you have any concerns pertaining to the theoretical elements, all these concerns can be raised at the first Q&A. And the same should be said about the final Q&A, which happens a week before the exam. So in it, I will also highlight about what you need to do to have a positive attitude before the exam, because it's of utmost importance that you face the exam with an open mind. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. So first things first, I'm going to highlight answering technique, what you need to get right. So when developing answers, first things first, you have to focus on developing appropriate headings and subheadings. That's your first step. Okay, so you are supposed to read through the scenario, read through the question, then based on each subtask, you need to come up with a heading. For instance, if there's a question, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. So if you look at the mini mock which we shared, as part of the first task, there are 3 subtasks, and for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. That's how we are supposed to develop your answers. Why am I suggesting this? So that the marker will know that you are serious about what you are doing. The marker can easily spot how you had subdivided your answer and what type of answers you have provided for each and every subtask. So that's exactly what you can see here. There are 3 subtasks, and for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. So this is main heading 1, main heading 2, and main heading 3. And each main heading is in bold and underlined format. Okay, so what you need to remember is for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. And when you develop a main heading, it needs to be in bold and underlined format. And later on, if you feel that you need to further faction out your answers or subdivide your answers, then you can come up with subheadings, and subheadings needs to be in bold format. So for each subtask, you need to develop a main heading which needs to be in bold and underline format. And if you are coming up with, or if you're when developing your answers, if you feel that you need to come up with subheadings, each subheading needs to be in bold format. So that's the first step when it comes to developing answers. Then when providing answers, you are supposed to provide answers in paragraphs, not in bullet points, or you are not supposed to provide answers in single line sentences. Instead, you need to develop a paragraph per answer point. So I will highlight what an answer plan looks like. So when developing the answer plan, let's assume there are 7 valid points within your answer. For each valid point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So if there are 7 valid points within your answer plan, you need to have 7 paragraphs within your fully fledged answer. And each paragraph needs to have 2 to 4 sentences. As I told you earlier, you are not supposed to provide answers in single-lined sentences or in bullet points. And when it comes to time management, what are you supposed to do? 1/3 of your time should be allocated towards reading the question and developing the answer plan, and the remaining time, or the 2/3 of your time, should be allocated towards typing. So most students out there, what they do is they'd rush through the scenario. They try to read it quickly as possible. Then what they do is they'd start typing the answer straight away. So you're not supposed to type your fully fledged answer straight away. Instead, you have to spend some time to develop something called an answer plan. Because when you are developing the answer plan, you are supposed to think for some time, because you are playing the role of a finance officer. And if you receive an email from your finance manager, you'd try to come up with the best solution or the best suggestions. So at office, you won't straight away jump into providing suggestions or solutions. You'd spend some time, try to figure out whether you had fulfilled all the requirements as per what was highlighted by your finance manager, and then again spend some time to see whether your answer, or what you're suggesting is accurate and appropriate. If that is the case, you'd end up finalizing your email. So that's the same type of methodology which you need to adhere to, because most students, 90% of the students, as I told you earlier, they'd read the question and they'd start typing the fully fledged answer straight away, and halfway through the answer they'd realize that they are headed in the wrong direction. The requirement is about something else, but your answer is totally different to the requirement. So in such an environment, these students end up deleting the entire exam. And when you do that, at the back of in the back of your mind, you know for a fact that you had wasted your time. So when that happens, stress sets in. And once you are stressed, and when you know that you had wasted time, you'd panic. And when you panic at the exam, the quality of your answers won't be up to par. You won't fulfill the requirements which are highlighted under each and every subtask. You'd run out of time. If that is the case, you'd end up failing the exam. So you should not panic at the exam. So in order to ensure that you do not panic, in order to ensure that you do not waste your time, you need to stick to this time management technique. So 15 to 20 minutes should be allocated towards planning your answer. Then you are thinking, you are trying to come up with the best suggestions. Then once you have thought out what you're supposed to type, once you had structured your answer, once you have determined what type of pre-seen information needs to be brought into your answer, once you have finalized it, the remaining time, which is something like 25 minutes, should be allocated towards expanding your answer plan or typing out your fully fledged answer. Okay, so you'd understand these things better when I take you through the mini mock, where I will be explaining how to develop answer structures. And the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. If your typing speed is not up to par, again, you'd run out of time at your exam. So if your typing speed is not up to standard, there are so many software and games out there. Please utilize this material with the intention, or these services with the intention of getting your typing speed up. And You are supposed to determine the mark allocation for each subtask based on the weightage provided. So when developing your answer plans, you have to be conversant about how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. Because when determining how many points need to appear or how many points you are supposed to highlight within each and every answer, you need to be conversant about the marks. Because if you are thinking in terms of marks, then it's easy for you to come up with a high quality yet precise answer. So I'll you'd understand what I'm talking about later on when I'm teaching you answering techniques in depth based on the mini mock. However, let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. So under each subtask, there's a weightage provided. So for subtask A, the weightage is 35%, for subtask B, 30%, and subtask C, 35%. So these percentages gives us an indication about how many marks are allocated on a subtask by subtask basis. So for each subtask, 37, sorry, for each task, 37.5 marks are allocated. So 37.5 into 4 tasks comes up to 150 marks. Okay. So for each task, you are allocated with 37.5 marks. Then based on it, and considering the weightages, you can determine for each and every subtask how many marks are allocated. So as I highlighted earlier, for the first subtask, the weightage provided is 35%. So that's 35% into 37.5 is 13 marks. So likewise, for all the other subtasks, you are supposed to determine how many marks are allocated. So if 13 marks are allocated, then it indicates that within your answer plan, you need to have something like 6 to 7 valid points. So since 11.5 marks are allocated, you need to have something like 5 to 6 valid points within your answer plan. And since 13 marks are allocated, again, you need to have 6 to 7 valid points. So that's how we are supposed to determine how the amount of points which you need to highlight within your answer. Just because you provide pages and pages of answers or lengthy answers, you are not going to get marks, because the markers always look at the quality of your answer instead of the quantity or the length of your answer. So the first step towards achieving success is to understand how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask, and based on the mark allocation, you need to develop your answer plans. So that's an important step when it comes to answering techniques. And you're not supposed to spend time on formatting, such as ensuring that your paragraphs are aligned properly and whatnot. You need not focus on the font size and whatnot. Instead, the only type of formatting which you need to focus on is with regards to developing a main heading per each subtask. So the main heading needs to be in bold and underline format. You can utilize subheadings if necessary as well. And if you are doing that, you need to come up with a subheading which is in bold format. Then you need to come up with paragraphs which consists of 2 to 4 lined sentences. And for each answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So that's the only type of formatting which you need to focus on. Other than that, you need not worry about anything else. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points. So that's exactly what I highlighted a while back. It's not about the length or the quantity of your answer. Instead, it's about quality. So if you adhere to the answering technique, which I'm highlighting right now, and if you keep on practicing this answering technique when attempting the 5 mock exams, then you'd champion this technique. And at the exam, you will be in a position to come up with high quality answers, properly structured answers. You won't ever run out of time. And if that is the case, you'd easily achieve more than 100 marks. So you are supposed to get 80 marks out of 150 to pass. But if you keep on practicing these answering and time management techniques, you can easily gain more than 100 marks. That's exactly what our past students who stuck to these techniques and who stuck to our study plan has achieved. All right, so when it comes to developing answers, what's the checklist? First things first, you are supposed to read the scenario. So this is a type of a question which will be thrown at you. So you need to read through the entire scenario first. Then plot the requirements into subheadings, headings and subheadings. I've made a blunder here. You are supposed to, plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So as I told you earlier, this question consists of 1, 2, and 3 subtasks. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a heading. So within your answer, for this task, for this particular task, you need to have 3 main headings. And if needed, you can come up with subheadings as well. Then after you have plotted out the headings and subheadings, you are supposed to invest some time to understand the requirements clearly. So these are the requirements you'd see typically within your paper. So if you look at the first requirement, you are supposed to talk about how the disposal of equipment will affect the tax charge for the year and our financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2024. So that is your requirement. So it's better to reiterate the requirement in an understandable yet concise manner. So if I give you an example of what I'm talking about, so this requirement is quite long. So at when faced with exam pressure, whilst developing your answer plan, if you have to refer back to the requirement on multiple locations, when you have a long requirement, it it will drive you crazy because you are under exam pressure. So in such an environment, you might panic, and if you have to read through this long requirement on multiple locations, then you'd be frustrated, and frustration leads to panic, and panic leads to a situation where you won't come up with high quality answers. So instead, it's better to reiterate the requirement in your own words, in a summarized format, in a concise manner. So this question goes as how the disposal of equipment will affect the tax charge for the year and our financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2024. So I've simplified it, saying disposal of equipment and impact on tax charge. Then whilst developing the answer plan, you can simply refer to the requirement which you have reiterated in simpler terms, in a concise or summarized manner, so that you know what you're supposed to what type of information you are supposed to include within the answer plan. So keep it simple, make it simple, keep the requirement simple so that you can easily understand. So disposal of equipment and impact on tax charge. Then looking at the second subtask, suggest and justify 3 KPI suppliers. Okay, so describe 3 KPIs which can be used to measure performance of our existing packaging material suppliers, justifying each KPI. So I've simplified it. Suggest and justify 3 KPIs suppliers. Then the third subtask is provide an explanation into the CGMA cost transformation model. I am attaching an excerpt of a document which was shared by Julia, reference material 1, which highlights the 6 areas of the mentioned model. So rather than having to read through, these 2 sentences over and over again, you can simply mention it in a summarized manner, explain the CGMA cost transformation model. So this is going to be extremely beneficial for you. So please, do this when, attempting your mock exam. So you are supposed to plot the requirements into headings and subheadings, and then invest time to understand the requirements clearly. So the, first step towards understanding the requirement is reiterating the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. Then once you're done with this, you are supposed to plan the answer. So a maximum of 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards it. So 1/3 of your time is something like 15 minutes. So you can take 5 minutes to read through the question. Then 15 minutes should be allocated towards developing answer plans. Take it from me, when you are trying to implement this for the first time, you will never be in a position to develop answer plans within 15 minutes. You take something like, 30 minutes or 40 minutes when developing answer plans. Okay. However, if you keep on practicing this, you will be, by the time you end up in mock 3, 4, and 5, you will be in a position to develop answer plans within 15 to 20 minutes. So you can't get this right just because you know the answering technique. You can't get this right in the first instance itself. Instead, what you need to do is you need to keep on practicing this technique. So when you are attempting this technique for the first time, you'd take something like 35 to 40 minutes to develop answer plans. However, if you keep on practicing, later on, you will be in a position to champion the answering technique. Why am I saying this? Because in each mock, you have four tasks into 5 mocks is 20 tasks in total. So when you keep practicing the answering and time management techniques 20 times over, you will champion this technique. Okay, so just because you know the technique, you cannot achieve it. Instead, you have to keep on practicing it, and by the time you are done with 5 mocks, by the time you have practiced answering and time management techniques 20 times over, you can easily implement it at your exam and ensure that you develop answer plans within 15 to 20 minutes. You type out your answers without ever running out of time, and you are spending some time, you are spending 15 to 20 minutes to think about the requirement and come up with the best suggestion or solution. So it's good to always spend some time to plan your answer rather than typing your answer, a fully fledged answer, typing your answer straight away after reading the question, because at a real life corporate environment, you read the email and spend some time to come up with the best solution. So that's the exact same methodology which you need to adhere to when providing answers at your OCS exam. So plan the answer first, so a maximum of 15 minutes can be allocated. And when developing the answer plan, do it on the answer screen itself, not on the scratch pad. At your exam, you will have access to a scratch pad. However, anything which is typed on the scratch pad will never be shared with your marker, because what appears within the scratch pad gets deleted right after your exam. So if you develop the answer plan within the scratch pad, and let's assume there are, for a certain subtask, you have come up with an answer plan which consists of 8 points. However, when developing your fully fledged answer, when shifting between your answer screen and the scratch pad, you might miss out on a point. So you have thought about it, you have planned to have 8 valid points within your answer plan. However, when typing out the fully fledged answer, since you were shifting between the scratch pad and the answer screen, you might miss out on a certain point. So why lose marks when you can gain full marks? So in order to avoid all these inefficiencies, so when switching between 2 answer screens, it will complicate your life. So in order to get rid of these inefficiencies, I want you guys to develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. And once you have the answer structure, when it comes to typing, there's no thinking involved. Instead, your life becomes easy. You have already thought about the points which you need to highlight within your answer. Then when it comes to typing, it's just a matter of expanding all the answer points in paragraph format. So when typing, you cannot multitask, especially when you are under a lot of stress. Your exam is stressful, you need to get so much done within 45 minutes, and you have to keep on moving forward continuously for a stretch of 3 hours. That's not easy. You are not supposed to face this type of stress at your real work environments, because you won't have to sit in one place and keep on responding to emails 3 hours at a stretch. However, at the exam, you are faced to this type of stressful environment. So the best way to manage your stress and come up with high quality answers is to stick to our answering technique. So once you have an answer structure, so when developing answers, you can't do 2 things. You can't think as well as type. That leads to inefficiency. So the best approach is to spend the initial 15 to 20 minutes to develop the answer plan. And once you know what you're supposed to type, then it's just a matter of expanding the answer plan. So you will definitely manage your time appropriately if you stick to this answering technique. And then expand the points which we have highlighted within the answer plan. So you'd understand what these things are once I take you through the mini mock. So before I move on to the mini mock and highlight how these things are supposed to be done, any questions, folks? Any questions? Any doubtful areas? If that is the case, I'm ready to answer your questions and concerns. Any questions? All right, seems like there aren't any questions, so I'm gonna move on to the mini mock, and I'll highlight how to practically apply what I taught you right now when it comes to developing answer plans and managing your time appropriately. So section number one, a 45-minute question. It has been 3 months since expanding into Melon. Personal Best has been extremely successful within the country and thus is planning to increase sales and therefore production volumes. So as per our study plan, you should have completed going through the pre-scene document as well as the pre-scene analysis videos by now. If that is the case, you'd know what this question highlights. So as per the pre-scene, Personal Best is planning to expand into Melon. And as per this question, so as I told you in the first and second webinars, the information which is provided under the pre-scene document gives you an indication about what the company has faced in the past. However, at your exam, the examiner will highlight current or present dynamics faced by the company. So as per the pre-scene, they highlighted that the company is pondering about moving to or expanding into Melon. However, as per this question, it has been 3 months since expanding into Melon. So your questions will carry current information. And it has been extremely successful as per the information provided. And thus, we are planning to increase sales and therefore production volume. So if we increase sales, definitely we'd have to increase our production volumes. You received the following email from your production director, Ben Morales. This email is received by you, the finance officer. So the subject goes as disposal of equipment, supply issues, and carbon goals. Okay. So let's look at the requirement. As you already know, we are increasing production capacity given the increase in demand for our products in Melon. As part of this expansion initiative, we are supposed to purchase two new blanching machines to be fitted within the production facility in Zealand. So within our production facility, we already have blanching machines, but since production is increasing, we are trying to introduce additional blanching machines. To further the investment on new machines, we will have to sell some of our equipment used in Zealand on 31st December 2023 for $600,000. So with the intention of, so as I've highlighted within the pre-scene analysis videos, I mentioned the fact that this company had been in operation for the past 5 years. So this is a startup which is in the growth phase. So usually a startup which is in the growth phase, when funding investments or when pursuing investment initiatives, they will have to, they find some type of a problem when it comes to finding money or funding the investment. So in order to fund the investment, it's typical that a startup which is in the growth phase will end up selling their old assets. So that's exactly what you can see here. We will have to sell some equipment used in the Zealand factory on the 31st of December 2023 for $600,000. We purchased the equipment outright sometime back for $350,000, and the carrying value at the date of disposal is $140,000. I need you to prepare a briefing paper which describes. Okay, so this information gives us an indication about what the company is trying to do. They are planning to purchase two new blanching machines, and in order to fund the investment, they are thinking about selling a set of equipment which they use within their manufacturing facility. And when are we planning to sell the equipment? On the 31st of December 2023. And for how much are we selling it? For $600,000. And at what price did we purchase these machines? At $350,000. And what's the carrying value on the date of disposal, or what appears within the balance sheet with regards to the value of this equipment as at 31st December 2023. The value which appears within our balance sheet is $140,000. So what are you supposed to, what is your requirement? What are you supposed to cover within your answer? You are supposed to mention how the disposal of equipment will affect the tax charge for the year and our financial statements for the year ended 30th June 2024. So how is it going to affect our tax charge as well as our financial statements? So this requirement consists of two main elements. If you do not address both elements, you won't gain full marks. So if you only mention about how this disposal is going to affect our tax charge, you're not going to get full marks. And on the other hand, if you only mention about how this disposal is going to affect our financial statements, again, you'd get half of the marks. So instead, in order to achieve full marks, you need to address both these concerns, and the weightage provided is 35%. So what did I highlight when it comes to answering, developing answers? You are supposed to read the scenario first. So that's exactly what we did, and plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So the first heading is about us selling some equipment. Okay, so task 1, based on the weightage provided, 13 marks are allocated, and I said it's better to reiterate the requirement in a concise and understandable manner. That's exactly what you can see here: disposal of equipment and impact on tax charge. All right, so that's done. Then moving on to the second task. As per Lisa Ward, the head of procurement, some of our suppliers are not sticking to the SLAs signed by them, or service level agreements. So these are the agreements between us and the suppliers. There has been delays in supplies of packaging material, which has affected production adversely. So we cannot sell our products if they are not packaged appropriately. So there had been a delay in us receiving packaging material. Because of that, it has affected our production in an adverse manner. Additionally, some of the packaging material has been of inferior quality and had to be returned. So these highlight another problem with regards to packaging material. So the supplies had been late when it comes to delivering, and on top of that, some of the packaging material which were delivered to us were not up to our required quality standards. Because of that, we had to return them. And when we tried to report these issues, suppliers were barely reachable. So the third issue is with regards to us not having the capability to get in touch with a supplier and communicate these errors. Okay, so that's the requirement. So this requirement highlights three issues pertaining to our supplier relationships. So they are not sticking to their SLAs. What type of issues are there? The first issue is with regards to suppliers not supplying us on time. The second issue is with regards to packaging material being of inferior quality. And when we tried to report these problems, these guys were unreachable. So these are the three problems highlighted within the scenario. So based on this information, you are supposed to describe 3 KPIs which can be used to measure the performance of our existing packaging material suppliers, justifying each KPI. So again, the second point is highlighted in a concise yet understandable manner. Suggest and justify 3 KPIs which are focused on suppliers. Based on the weightage, 11.5 marks are allocated. All right. And looking at the third question on an unrelated matter, when discussing about green business practices with Julia Matthews, our finance director, she highlighted that companies pursuing carbon reduction goals strive to be increasingly cost conscious as well. When I asked her as to how we can achieve the mentioned type of cost consciousness, she referred to a concept called the CGMA cost transformation model, one which I am unaware of. So you are supposed to provide an explanation into the CGMA cost transformation model. I am attaching an excerpt of a document which was shared by Julia, which highlights the 6 areas of the mentioned model. So within the reference material, the 6 areas have been highlighted. So what is your requirement? You are supposed to explain the CGMA cost transformation model, thereby explaining each of these 6 areas. And based on the weightages provided, 35%, 13 marks are allocated. Okay, so this has 6 components. So 2 marks each per component comes up to 12 to 13 marks. All right. And as I highlighted earlier, the total allocation per task is 45 minutes. So when it comes to developing the answer plan, you have to allocate something like 5 minutes to read through the entire scenario. Then 15 minutes should be allocated towards developing the answer plan for the entire task. So when developing the answer plan, you are not supposed to look into it on a subtask, on a subtask by subtask basis. Instead, 15 minutes, allocate 15 minutes and develop the answer plan for the entire task. Okay, so that's exactly what you can see here. Disposal of equipment. This is the answer plan for the first subtask. Moving on to the second subtask, KPIs pertaining to packaging material suppliers. Then moving on to the third subtask, the CGMA cost transformation model. And once you have the answer plan for the entire requirement, then utilizing the remaining time, which is 25 minutes, you are supposed to expand the answer plans. Okay, so you are not supposed to develop the answer plan for the first subtask, type it, type it out or expand it, then move on to the second subtask, again, move forward to expand and move on to the third one. Instead, you have to allocate 5 minutes to read through the entire requirement, 15 minutes to develop all the answer plans which are relevant for the task which you are going through or attempting. Then allocating utilizing the remaining 20 to 25 minutes, you can come up with paragraphs of answers, thereby expanding your answer plans. So that's what you are supposed to do. All right, so based on the information, let's try to figure out what you need to include within your answer. So I've come up with a main heading which goes as disposal of equipment, because that's exactly what we are doing. And this is in bold and underlined format. Why? As I told you earlier, for each and every subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. All right, so as I highlighted, this question tests your understanding pertaining to two main areas, or your answer needs to address two main situations. So I've come up with subheadings for each area: how this disposal is impacting our financial statements and how it is affecting our tax charge. So these are the two elements which you need to cover within your answer. And for each element or for each area, I've come up with a subheading which is in bold format. Okay, so how is it going to impact our financial statement? So this is an area which comes under the F1 syllabus. Okay, financial accountancy syllabus. Okay, so how are you supposed to, when you are thrown a question pertaining to an F1 area, what are you supposed to do? So actually speaking, when developing answers for F1 related syllabus content is extremely easy, because it's just a matter of replicating what is highlighted within the particular IAS or IFRS, and applying this IAS or the IFRS to to the question at hand. So within the question, they have mentioned about at what price we are going to sell these equipment, and at what price we bought them initially, and on the date of disposal, what appears as the value of the asset within our financial statement. So you need to, first things first, explain the IAS or the IFRS which is relevant. After explaining it, then you have to apply the information provided to the suggested or the required IAS or the IFRS. So how are you supposed to do it? Some assets will not be sold by the year end. So we are trying to sell some equipment. Our financial year end, as you know, is 30th of June 2024. That's highlighted within the question itself. So when are we planning to sell these assets? On the 31st of December 2023. So from 31st of December 2023 until the financial year end, which is the 30th of June 2024, we get something like 6 months. So when trying to sell these equipment, we might not, these are equipment which we have used for some time. So when trying to sell these equipment, we might not end up selling these equipment within 6 months. It might take 9 months. If it takes 9 months, then it goes beyond our financial year end. So we are planning to sell them on the 31st of December. We might be successful, or we can be unsuccessful as well. We are planning to sell them as soon as possible, but it might take more than 6 months. It might take 7 months, 8 months, or 9 months to sell all the assets in its entirety. So if that is the case, some assets will not be sold by the year end or the 30th of June 2024. If that is the case, the relevant accounting standard which is applicable is IFRS 5, non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. Okay, so if we end up selling everything by the financial year end, the relevant accounting standard is IAS 16, property, plant, and equipment. However, if we do not end up selling all the equipment by the financial year end, then IFRS 5 comes into the picture. So how do we, according to IFRS 5, I've said you need to mention which accounting standard is applicable. You have to mention the number as well as its name. Then explain the theoretical components which are relevant to the chosen IAS or IFRS. So according to IFRS 5, we have to classify the assets as, assets which are held for sale. So how do we do this classification? The asset needs to be available for immediate sale. Yes, it appears that we are, trying to sell them immediately or as soon as possible. Why? Because we need to fund this investment with regards to purchasing 2 blanching machines. So it appears that it's available for immediate sale, and we are selling them in its present condition. We are not trying to work on the equipment and increase their value. That's not happening. And the sale should be highly probable as well, if we are to consider IFRS 5 and reiterate these assets as non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. So it appears that the management is committed to sell. Why are we selling them? We are not blindly selling them. Instead, we are selling them with the intention of funding our investment initiative. And an active program needs to be carried out to find a buyer. That's, if we are serious about selling, then we do this. Then the assets needs to be marketed at a reasonable price. Definitely that will be the case, although there's no mention about the price at which we are marketing the product and how these equipment are priced within the market. We can assume that since we are selling used machinery, definitely it will be marketed at a reasonable price, and the sale is expected to happen within 12 months. If we expect that the sale is not gonna occur, or if we are to end up selling all the equipment, it takes about 1.5 years, then IFRS 5 should not be considered. Okay, and unlikely that the plan to sell these assets will change. It appears that this is not the case, because we are trying to fund the purchase of 2 new blanching machines. So with that in mind only, we are selling this equipment. So that's the theoretical element pertaining to IFRS 5. So that's exactly why I said it's extremely easy if an F1 related knowledge area is tested, especially pertaining to IASs or IFRSs, because the first part of your answer is about highlighting the theoretical elements or highlighting the conditions which appears within each and every IAS or IFRS. So that's exactly what I've done here. So this is just replication of theory. So if you can remember theory, then it's just a matter of replicating it. So these are, when attempting the 5 mock exams, you'd get your hands on the answer plans for each and every mock. So rather than going through paragraphs and paragraphs of information, it's extremely easy for you guys to understand the elements which are highlighted or the points which are highlighted, and at the same time understand how to structure your answer and understand how each and every requirement is fulfilled in a successful manner. Then when it comes to valuation, so that's the methodology. If we are to consider a certain set of equipment under IFRS 5, this is the methodology which we need to adhere to. And on top of that, IFRS 5 gives us an indication about how to value these equipment or assets. So when valuing these equipment or assets, we have to consider the lower of the carrying value and the fair value, and from that deduct the costs to sell. So there aren't any there's no mention about costs which we need to incur when trying to sell these machines. However, in your exam question, if there's a mention about certain costs which we need to spend when it comes to when we are trying to sell the machines, then these costs to sell should be taken out of your valuation. So the valuation is carrying value, the lower of carrying value and the fair value, and from the selected value, you need to get rid of cost to sell, and the asset should be reclassified under current assets within our financial statement. So usually equipment falls under non-current assets as per property, plant and equipment, IA 16. However, if we reclassify these assets as non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations as per IFRS 5, these need to appear within the current assets of the company. Why is that the case? Current assets gives us an indication about the type of assets which we utilize or convert into cash within a short time period or within 12 months. So these assets, we are planning to sell them within 12 months. Sale is expected to happen within 12 months. So we are planning to sell them within an year. If that is the case, that qualifies as a current asset. So any type of asset under IAS 16 property, plant and equipment, any type of asset which we utilize for more than one accounting period or for more than 12 months is considered as a non-current asset. However, these equipment, we are not intending to use them for more than one accounting period or for more than 12 months. So we are trying to sell them within 12 months. So these assets should be reclassified under current assets within our financial statements, and current assets should not be depreciated. So that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We should not depreciate the asset after reclassification. So until we have taken the decision to sell this equipment, it appears within non-current assets under IAS 16 property, plant and equipment. So non-current assets need to be depreciated as per our depreciation policy. However, if you are trying to get rid of these assets within 12 months, then they need to be reclassified as current assets, and current assets are not supposed to be, we cannot depreciate current assets. So in such an environment, we should not depreciate these assets which were reclassified as well. All right, now comes the application element. So the theoretical component is done. So a majority of the marks can be gained if you remember the theory. And the best way to remember theory is not by going through your, study packs, your notes and whatnot. We have provided the short note as part of each and every answer plan. So I've said when developing the 5 mock exams, we have covered the entire syllabus looking into E1, P1 and F1 related areas which can be tested. You won't get any questions beyond the questions which we have covered. And the best way to improve your answering techniques, improve the structure of your answers, at the same time revising your answers pertaining to theoretical content, is to go through our answer plans. And remember, we have developed 20 master classes covering each and every answer. So within these master classes, I'm replicating a similar methodology which you are experiencing right now via this webinar. So, whilst explaining the logic of each and every answer, I am teaching you theory as well as focusing on improving your application skills. So I've taught theory up until this point pertaining to IFRS 5. Now comes the application element. Okay. If all assets are disposed at the year end, so by our financial year end, which is 30th of June 2024, if we end up selling all our assets, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to depreciate the equipment until the date of disposal. Okay, so we are considering two aspects, or two options. Option number one is a scenario where some assets will not be sold by the year end. If so, those equipment need to be considered under IFRS 5 non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. On the other hand, if we end up selling all the assets or disposing all the assets by the financial year end, then we have to depreciate all the assets until the date of disposal. And we have to consider a profit on disposal. As per the information provided, there is a profit. We are planning to sell them at $600,000. We will have to sell some of the equipment used in Sealand on 31st of December 2023 for $600,000. However, the carrying value is $140,000, and the carrying value of the date of disposal is $140,000. So we are the value of these assets, the carrying value indicates the value which appears within our balance sheet. So we had purchased these assets at $350,000 some time back. And after you purchase on an annual basis, you need to keep on depreciating the assets, which brings down the carrying value of the asset on an yearly basis. So we bought it at $350,000, and by the time we are planning to dispose these assets, the value which appears within our balance sheet as the carrying value is $140,000. So we are trying to sell this equipment at 600,000. So the value which appears within our balance sheet is 140,000. So 600,000, the sales price minus the value which appears within our balance sheet, which is 140,000, gives us a profit on disposal which amounts to $460,000. So 600,000 our sales price minus the carrying value 140,000, then we are achieving a profit on disposal amounting to $460,000. And what happens to the SOFP or our balance sheet? So if we end up selling all this equipment, it should be taken out from our statement of financial position or the balance sheet. So this carrying value of 140,000 should be de-recognized from the SOFP. It should go off our balance sheet. Why? Because we have already sold these equipment. And what happens to the profit on disposal? So we are making a profit of $460,000. Where should it appear? It should appear within the statement of profit and loss. So the asset values will appear within the statement of financial position or the balance sheet. Since we are selling the asset, we have to take off this value from our balance sheet. And whenever we are generating a profit or loss on disposal, as the name suggests, it needs to appear within the SOPL or the statement of profit and loss. So as per the information provided within this question, we are exposed to a profit on disposal which amounts to $460,000, and this needs to be recognized within our statement of profit and loss. And what about the sales proceeds which we are receiving? Although we are generating a profit of 460, we are actually getting $600,000 onto our hand because we are selling these assets at $600,000. So what happens? Where should it appear? Since we are getting cash, it should be recognized on the statement of cash flows as proceeds from the sale of property, plant, and equipment. So we are receiving cash. The cash which we receive should appear within the cash flow statement. And we are making a profit on disposal. The profit should go to the SOPL, and we are getting rid of assets. So because of that, these assets need to be excluded from our SOFP. So that's the first part of the answer. And as you can see, I've considered two options. What if we sell all? If that is the case, how does it affect our financial statements? What if we end up selling just a part of the assets? Then IFRS 5 should be considered. And up until this point, the theoretical elements were highlighted, and beyond that point, application has been considered. Okay. And how is it gonna? The second part of the question is with regards to understanding how or providing an answer pertaining to how it impacts our tax charge. So we are selling equipment which results in a capital gain. Okay, I was talking about profits generated by selling this equipment. So we are not only considering about the profits, we have to consider whether we are making a capital gain when it comes to selling this equipment. And if there is a capital gain, it needs to be taxed at the corporate rate of 25%. So from where did I get this tax rate? From the pre-scene. So I said, whenever bringing in information from the pre-scene, it needs to be done with the intention of improving the quality or the logic of your answer. So that's exactly what I've done here. So for mentioning this, you get marks. So rather than simply saying, because theoretically speaking, whenever we are selling some asset, if there is a capital gain, it needs to be taxed at the corporate rate. So if you stop your answer here, we are selling an asset and it results in a capital gain. If that is the case, we are supposed to tax it at the corporate rate. You won't get full marks. In order to get full marks, you need to bring in relevant information from the pre-scene. So it's better to mention what the corporate tax rate is. And how are we supposed to deal with the capital gain? Okay, so we are receiving sales proceeds amounting to 600,000 because we are selling these assets. And in order to determine the capital gain from the sales proceeds, we have to deduct the original cost of the asset. Why are we considering the original cost? Because we paid $350,000 to purchase this set of equipment, and we end up selling them at 600,000. So when computing the capital gain, you have to consider the sales proceeds. From that, deduct the original cost. After you do it, you are supposed to compute the tax depreciation. So sales proceeds less the original cost of the asset less tax depreciation from the date of purchase until the date of sale. We are planning to sell it by 31st of December 2023. So there's no mention about when we purchase these assets from. So from the purchase date up until the rate of sale, we can go for tax depreciation. And what is the rate which we need to utilize? Tax depreciation at 25% reducing balance basis. So from where did I get this information? Again, from your pre-scene document. So you get marks for pre-scene application as well, multiplied by $350,000, which was the initial amount of money which we spent to purchase the machine. So that's how we are supposed to compute the capital gain. So the theoretical element is, if there's a capital gain, it needs to be taxed at a corporate rate of 25%. And how are we supposed to determine the capital gain? We have to consider the sales proceeds minus the original cost minus the tax depreciation from the date which we purchased the machine up until the date of sale. Just mentioning theory won't get you full marks. You need to apply to the information. So I've mentioned what our sales proceed is. I've mentioned what our original cost was. I've mentioned the tax depreciation rate and the methodology at which we are supposed to calculate tax depreciation. And I've mentioned the corporate tax rate as well. So in that way, you are gaining marks for application. Okay, so this is the type of an answer which you need to develop at your exam. So as I highlighted earlier, you are allocated with 15 to 20 minutes to develop the answer plans for the entire task. So you might think that there's a lot of information here. I will never be in a position to develop answer plans. Yes, that will be the case. I will never be in a position to develop answer plans within 15 to 20 minutes. Yes, that will be the case if you do not practice answer planning and time management techniques. By the time you're done with all 5 mocks, you would have developed answer plans 20 times over. If that is the case, you will champion this answer planning technique. Okay, so keep practicing this when attempting each and every mock. If that is the case, you will manage your time appropriately and you'll come up with high quality answers. All right, then moving on to the second subtask. It tests your practical knowledge pertaining to key performance indicators. So whenever developing answers which are relevant for key performance indicators, first things first, you need to determine whether certain inefficiencies are highlighted within the scenario. If that is the case, your KPIs need to reflect ways and means of controlling these inefficiencies. So within this requirement, 3 inefficiencies are highlighted. For each inefficiency, you need to come up with a KPI. And there might be a situation where the examiner has not highlighted certain inefficiencies. If that is the case, when recommending KPIs, you can get creative. You have to think about, right, if the KPIs are about website performance, if there's no indication about any inefficiencies pertaining to website performance of personnel best, then you can come up with any KPI you want as long as it's relevant to the area which is tested. So if it's a question about website performance, you can come up with KPIs such as conversion rates, bounce rates, click-through rates and whatnot. However, within this requirement, they have specifically mentioned inefficiencies. If that is the case, you need to come up with a KPI with the intention of controlling each and every inefficiency. So what are the 3 inefficiencies? There has been delays in supplying packaging material. So if we are to fix this, what's the best KPI which we can utilize? Number of late deliveries. Okay, so these guys had delayed supplying packaging material. So easily, by looking at the number of late deliveries, we can determine which of our suppliers are not sticking to their SLAs and take appropriate action. We should not hold excessive stocks to counter this issue. So whenever a company is faced with delivery issues, especially pertaining to lateness, companies take the decision to stack up the stocks or the stocks which are supplied by a supplier who is always late. So if we stack up stocks within our warehouse, it will lead to stock holding costs. Our inventory days will be affected in a negative manner. So just because there is an inefficiency with our supplier, we are not supposed to waste our money and effort. So we should not hold excessive stocks to counter this issue. Instead, what we are supposed to do is we have to ensure that suppliers stick to the lead times, because they sign SLA with us, service level agreement with us. So that's the contract between us and the supplier. So if you sign a contract, you have to stick to it, or else we are not bound to pay anything to them. Okay, so suppliers must stick to the lead times. And when it comes to stipulating the lead times, there is a problem, because as per the pre-scene, suppliers are located in different areas within Zealand. So since suppliers are located within different parts of the country, there are inevitable lead times. However, when signing each service level agreements, we should have considered these things. If not, we have to sign new service level agreements considering these things, and we'd have to come up with new plans considering the transportation distances, especially given the fact that suppliers are located throughout the country. Okay, so I've brought in relevant information from the pre-scene. For that, you get full marks. Then suppliers manufacture PB specific packaging material. So when looking at the question at hand, it highlights information about suppliers who are involved with supplying us with packaging material. And as per the pre-scene, we are purchasing PB branded or PB specific packaging material. So again, I've brought in information from the pre-scene. For that, you get marks. And as per the pre-scene, again, we are enjoying collaborative relationships with our suppliers pertaining to packaging, who are involved with supplying us with packaging material, and lateness goes against these collaborative relationships. So if you look at procurement strategies, there are two main strategies which we can adopt. One is a competitive approach. Under a competitive approach, we are trying to pressurize the suppliers as much as possible, go for tendering processes, and try to purchase at the lowest cost. So we are trying to make sure that all suppliers compete with each other with the intention of providing us with the least quality least cost material. However, when suppliers are competing with each other, it affects their margins in a negative manner, and they'll be dissatisfied. And when these guys are dissatisfied, and when we are trying to purchase our supplies at the lowest cost, the quality might be compromised. So rather than going for a competitive procurement strategy, it's better to opt for a collaborative strategy where we share knowledge with our suppliers, and suppliers will share knowledge with us in return, and we are trying to achieve a win-win solution or scenario. So our suppliers are paid on time. We are not trying to reduce their margins unnecessarily, and because we are treating the suppliers out of respect, the suppliers will in return supply us on time with high quality packaging material. So if these guys we are, as per the pre-scene information, we seek collaborative relationships, we enjoy collaborative relationships with these suppliers. However, if we are trying to collaborate, but if the suppliers are delivering us late, then that goes against collaborative relationships. Okay, so that's the answer for the first KPI. Then the second KPI should depend on the second problem which we encounter. Some of the packaging material has been of inferior quality and had to be returned. So that's the second problem. So how can we fix this problem? We have to consider or compute the percentage of returns due to poor quality. Okay, so out of the stocks which we receive, how much were returned due to poor quality? So we have to consider the percentage of returns against total deliveries. So out of 100 deliveries, if the percentage of returns was 20%, then what it indicates is that we got 100 deliveries, out of which 20 of them were of inferior quality. Because of that, we had to return them. So this is an extremely important measure. Why? Because PB's product quality depend on the quality of packaging material supplied. Again, I'm bringing in information from the pre-scene. So as per what is highlighted within the pre-scene, our product quality depends on how we package or the quality of packaging material. And within the pre-scene, it is also mentioned that most customers nowadays look for companies which operate in a sustainable manner, especially with regards to the packaging options. So the packaging material needs to be recycled. If not, customers might not purchase from us. So if these packaging material are supposed to be recycled or recyclable, then it needs to be of an appropriate level of quality. So if we have to keep on returning due to quality issues, then or if we utilize inferior quality material and end up packaging our material utilizing inferior quality packaging material, it will impact our sales in an adverse manner. So we have to keep track of the percentage of returns due to poor quality. And the third problem which is highlighted is when we try to report these issues, the suppliers were barely reachable. So we can't reach these guys. So how can we fix this problem? We have to consider a KPI which is practical, such as number of supplier queries taking more than 2 days to resolve. So rather than saying or coming up with a KPI which goes as number of supplier queries taking long to resolve, I'm being specific. Whenever you are coming up with a KPI, you need to fulfill the SMART characteristics. It needs to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So rather than simply talking about supply queries taking too long to be resolved, I'm stipulating a specific date, 2 days. So this helps us keep track of or measure the effectiveness of the supply initiatives carried out by our suppliers. So it's extremely difficult for PB's procurement employees to talk to someone as per the information provided. So that's the problem. And instead, queries should be handled quickly and efficiently. If not, we will end up facing issues when fulfilling needs of our customers. If the queries are handled quickly and efficiently, it will be in line with collaborative relationships which we seek to have, which we currently enjoy with our suppliers. So for each of the 3 problems, I've come up with 3 solutions. All right, so that's this area is testing your knowledge pertaining to KPIs, key performance indicators. So I'm not going to take you through the CGMA cost transformation model. Instead, I'll focus on a P1 related question before we move on to the last part of today's webinar. Today is the 2nd of April 2024, and Personal Best has carried out a quarterly performance review. You received the following email from the finance manager, Akida Agu, and the subject goes as variance analysis and redundancies. I was going through the variance analysis which you submitted recently with regards to protein bars. To gain an in-depth understanding of the variances, I had a chat with Penny Sanchez, our sales and marketing director, and she provided me with information which appears on reference material 2. Please refer to the attachment. So certain information pertaining to variances which affect our company has been provided. Okay, so 3 different variances, information pertaining to 3 different variances have been provided: sales price variance, sales mix profit variance, and the sales quantity profit variance. And 3 product categories have been considered: the peanut protein bar, the almond protein bar, and the cashew protein bar. And the budgeted sales units and the actual sales units for each of the product categories have been provided. Also, they have mentioned the budgeted sales price of each product category and the budgeted profit per unit. So as I've highlighted in the first and the second webinars, it's of utmost importance when attempting mock exams that you attempt exam standard and pre-scene specific mock exams. You're not supposed to look into past exam variants. Why? Primarily due to the fact that past exam variants are based on different pre-scene material or different case studies. So it's instead when attempting mock exams, it's prudent to attempt mocks which are pre-scene specific. So this is exactly what we are trying to achieve at TCS. If you look at the budgeted sales prices and the budgeted profit per unit, this replicates the information which appears within the pre-scene. Okay, so it's better to attempt mocks which are pre-scene specific. So the budgeted sales price is $21 across the 3 products, and the budgeted profit per unit differs across the 3 product categories. The highest profitability is pertaining to the peanut range, and the lowest profitability is pertaining to the cashew range. All right, so let's look at the information provided. There was a quality issue with our peanut protein bar range. Some of the ingredients purchased for the manufacture of the peanut range was found to be expired. So, our suppliers had supplied us with expired peanuts. Because of that, we ended up, facing production issues when manufacturing our peanut protein bar range. These ingredients were sourced from a new supplier who did not conduct appropriate quality checks before supplying. We have resolved the issue, but it led to a shortage of peanut protein bars in the market. To manage the reputational damage, the marketing department initiated a media campaign and a 20% discount was announced. So in order to fix this problem, we had found a new supplier. However, because of the quality issues, our production was affected. We have to halt our production. When production stops, then we won't be addressing the needs of our customers, because we won't have enough protein bars to supply to our customers. And with the intention of addressing this problem for a certain period of time, peanut protein bars were not available in the market. So with the intention of increasing the demand, we had offered a 20% discount and a marketing campaign has been initiated. Okay. Second point, we ran a marketing campaign focused on the almond bar range, at the same time offering a 10% discount on retail price. So with the intention of increasing the demand for our almond range, we have offered a 10% discount, and a marketing campaign has also been carried out. Organic cashews were introduced within cashew protein bars. So we are looking at what happened within the cashew range. So we had introduced organic cashews. So whenever organic raw material are introduced within a certain food product or a beverage, then what happens is, since organic material are expensive, our production costs will increase. So organic cashews were introduced within the cashew protein bar, which received an excellent review in a leading fitness magazine, FitU. So given this excellent review, our demand will increase significantly. And the price was increased by $2 per bar due to the inclusion of the organic cashews. So as I told you earlier, when raw material costs increases, it will increase our total costs of production. If that is the case, since we are offering something better for the customers, we can pass down this cost to our end customer via increased prices. So we had increased the price by $2. Information pertaining to the sales variances are as follows, and the variances were calculated using the individual units method. So let's look at the requirement. We are supposed to explain how each variance was calculated, highlighting why these variances occurred and what they tell us about market conditions. So as per the requirement, it consists of two main elements. So what are these two elements? I said before developing your answer plan, you are supposed to highlight or reiterate the requirement in an understandable yet concise manner. So explain each variance and determine how to calculate it, each one. So you are supposed to mention how to calculate each variance, and on top of that, explain the variance where your application skills will be tested. And based on the weightage provided, 45%, 17 marks are allocated for this requirement. So let's try to figure out the type of an answer you are supposed to develop. So I've come up with a main heading which goes as sales variance report, protein bar range, which is in bold and underlined format. And since knowledge pertaining to three different variances, sales variances have been tested, I've come up with subheadings for each. So sales price variance, which is in bold format, sales mix profit variance, and the sales quantity profit variance. All these are in bold format. Okay, so how are we supposed to calculate the sales price variance? Because as per the requirement, we are supposed to highlight how to calculate each variance and explain what has happened within the company. Okay, so calculation is with regards to the sales price variance, actual selling price minus budgeted selling price into actual sales volumes. So what you need to understand is, when it comes to questions pertaining to variance analysis, it's mandatory that you remember these formulas. If not, you'd lose marks. You'd get something like 2 marks whenever you are expected to mention the way in which you are supposed to calculate each variance. So if you are requested to mention the calculation, you need to know it. If not, you'd end up losing 2 marks. So there's no way out of this. you have to memorize these formulas for each of the variances, and all variances are covered within our 5 mock exams. So the sales price variance is the difference between the actual selling price minus the budgeted selling price multiplied by the actual sales volume. So if you look at the sales price variances on an individual basis, the sales price variance for the peanut range as well as the almond ranges were adverse. However, when you look at the cashew range, the sales price variance was favorable. Why was this the case? So we are comparing between the actual selling price and the budgeted selling price. So according to the information provided, we were supposed to sell all 3 ranges at $21. However, we had played around with the prices. So we had offered a 20% discount on the peanut range. We have offered a 10% discount on the almond range. And looking at the cashew range, the price was increased by $2 per bar. So in 2 of our ranges, we have offered discounts. Thereby, the actual sales price was lesser than the budgeted sales price. So when the budgeted sales price was $21, the actual sales price was lesser in 2 ranges, namely peanut and almond ranges. 20% discount was offered on the peanut bar to address the reputational damage, and a 10% discount was offered on the almond bar to boost sales. So that's why we are faced with an adverse sales price variance. So we were supposed to sell it at $21, but we sold it at, or the actual sales price was lesser. So that leads to a negative figure. If there is a negative figure, that is considered as an adverse variance. Okay, then moving on to the cashew bar, the sales price variance is favorable. Why is that the case? Because we were supposed to sell it at $21. However, we ended up selling it at $23. So 23 minus 21 comes up to $2, which is a positive figure. That multiplied by the actual sales volume gives us a favorable value. So we offered an additional price of $2 per bar because we included organic cashews. So that led to the positive or favorable sales price variance. Then moving on to the second variance, sales mix profit variance. How do you calculate it? Actual sales at the budgeted mix minus the actual sales into standard profit per unit. So what are we trying to figure out by looking at the sales mix profit variance? We are selling 3 different types of products in different mixes. So if you look at the budgeted sales units, we are supposed to sell 670 units of the peanut range, 290,000 units of the almond range, and 200,000 units of the cashew range, thereby selling 1.16 million units in total. So when we offer 3 or different product ranges and we are planning to sell different quantities of each product range, we have to look at the sales mix profit variance. Why are we calculating it? To figure out which of the products are the most profitable and which of the products are least profitable, and based on how many products were sold of the most profitable and the least profitable ones, we can figure out what's actually happening with regards to sales. So it's prudent to sell a higher amount of the most profitable products. So if that is the case, if we find out after carrying out a sales mix profit variance analysis, if we figure out that we have not sold the most profitable products, then strategies can be developed to fix this issue. All right, so we need to identify products with the highest and lowest profitability. And as per the information provided, the most profitable is the peanut range, considering the budgeted profit per unit, and the least profitable are the almond and cashew ranges. So we need, if the most profitable products are sold, such as the peanut bar, the sales material price variance will, sales mix profit variance will be favorable. However, if you look at the sales mix profit variance in its totality, it's adverse. So this indicates that we have not sold or stuck to the budgets when it comes to selling the most profitable products. Okay, so the SMP will be favorable if the most profitable products were sold. On the other hand, if the least profitable products were sold, such as the cashew range, the sales mix profit variance will be adverse. So if you look at, compare between the budgeted sales and the actual sales, you can see this. We were supposed to sell 670,000 units of our most profitable products, but we only ended up selling 201,000 units. However, if you look at the least profitable product categories, which are almond and cashew, if you look at almond we were supposed to sell 209,000, but we ended up selling 8,700 units in addition to what was budgeted for. We were supposed to sell 200,000 units of cashew protein bars, but we ended up selling an additional 10,000 units. Okay, so we had exceeded our sales targets when it comes to the least profitable products, whilst failing to achieve our sales targets pertaining to the peanut range. So we have exceeded sales budgets for almond and cashew bars, which led to the favorable sales mix profit variances. So that's exactly what you can see here, the two favorable variances. Why did we achieve this? Why did we exceed sales budgets? Because we offered a 10% discount and ran a marketing campaign focused on the almond bars, and we received an excellent review for our cashew range of bars. Okay, that led to the favorable sales mix variance. We did not achieve the sales budget for the peanut bar. Why was this the case? Because there was an issue with the quality of the raw material or the peanut which we utilize, which led to this adverse sales mix variance. And that's exactly what you can see here, adverse sales mix variance. And we achieved this adverse variance even after offering a 20% discount and running a marketing campaign. So this indicates that the discount and the marketing campaign have not been too successful for the company. And if you look at the overall sales mix profit variance, which is 394,129 adverse, why had this come into the picture? Because we had exceeded sales budget of the least profitable bars, almond and cashew. However, we have sold an extremely low amount of our most profitable bars, peanut. Because of that, it led to the overall adverse sales mix profit variance. Then moving on to the third variance, sales quantity profit variance. How do you calculate it? Actual sales at the budgeted mix minus budgeted sales into the standard profit per unit. So as the name suggests, this gives us an indication about the quantity of units we sold relative to the budgets or the budgeted sale. That's exactly what you can see by looking at the formula. So in its totality, the sales quantity profit variance is adverse, which amounts to $4,082,940. So we sold, why is this adverse? Because we sold only 709,700 bars in total, which is short by 450,300 units relative to budgeted sales. So we were supposed to sell 1.16 million units in total. However, we only ended up selling 709,700. So the difference between these two figures, the budgeted sales units in total and the actual sales which we achieved in total, comes up to 450,300 units. So in a total sense, we have not stuck to or adhered to our sales budget. Because of that, the total sales quantity profit variance is adverse. And looking at each product category, it's adverse across all three ranges. So when we do not achieve the budget, sales budget in its totality, you can expect all the variances, sales quantity profit variances, to be adverse. So that's normal. When in total we do not achieve our budgeted sales units, then our sales quantity profit variance will be adverse across all three product ranges. So that's exactly what I've highlighted here. We sold less units in total against the budget. Although we exceeded sales budgets in almond and cashew, these were not too significant. We ended up selling additionally 8,700 units of almond range and just 10,000 units of the cashew range. Whereas if you look at the sales drop, we only achieved 1/3 of our sales budget pertaining to peanut range. We were supposed to sell 670,000 units, yet we ended up selling just 201,000 units. So this has an overriding effect on sales quantity. So although we exceeded sales budget in the almond and cashew ranges, there's a significant drop in sales of peanut bars, especially given the quality issue, which has an overriding effect on sales quantity across all three product ranges. All right. So as you can see, this is sales variances fall under the P1 syllabus. So you need to first, mention the theoretical element That's where the calculation aspect comes in. Then just because you know your theory, you won't get a majority of marks for this question, because if you do not know how to explain these numbers based on what is mentioned within the question, you won't get any marks. So if you only mention the theoretical element, it's just a matter of highlighting the formula. If you do that, you'd get 2 marks. If you have no understanding about application, then you won't gain any marks. So that's exactly why I've said or asked you guys to watch the 20 master classes. If you do, you are in a position to learn theory, just like you learned theory pertinent to IFRS 15, IAS 16, KPIs, and in here sales variances. Then you'd also improve your knowledge pertinent to application skills. I mentioned how you are supposed to achieve this, and you'd easily understand what needs to be covered in each and every answer, whilst understanding how pre-seen information or what type of pre-seen information needs to be brought into your answer. So once you have developed an answer plan such as this, typing it out or expanding the answer plan becomes a walk in the park. Okay, so you can't get this thing get these techniques right if you do not practice them. So keep on practicing them. This is a complex process. I understand that, but if you keep on practicing this, you'd champion this technique. All right, so that's that. So let me quickly, before we move on to the last part of today's webinar, let me quickly take you through the products which we offer. So I'm on the OCS page. Why is this not loading? Give me a second, please, guys. All right, until it loads. Okay, all right, superb. If you have any questions pertaining to the areas which we discussed in today's webinar, you can drop them in the chat section. Towards the end of the webinar, I will address all your concerns. So if you are yet to check out our free content, simply click on this button, and that's okay, Martina. You can refer to the recorded version via the free content as well as paid content. Thank you very much for joining. So if you want to check out the free content, simply click on this button and create a user account. Then you'd have access to the recorded versions of the webinars, the mini mock, its suggested answer, and the answer plan. And talking about the 3 packages which we offer 3 packages focused on different types of students. The Essentials pack comes with the recorded versions of the webinars, 5 mock exams with suggested answers, and the 4 pre-seen analysis videos, and it's priced at £99. So if you are a student who is coming through the CIMA general route, and if you had aced your OTQ exams, or when attempting your OTQs, if you have not failed any, if you passed your OTQs in the first sitting itself, then it appears that you are disciplined enough to be engaged with self-learning with limited tutor support, which, if that is the case, simply go for the Essentials pack. Then the Value pack is developed for students, again, who are coming through the exemption route. However, if you struggled with your OTQ exams, if you failed any of them, then you need some type of additional support. So you should opt for the Value pack. So the Value pack comes with all material which are covered under the Essentials pack. Additionally, you'd get your hands on something called the annotated pre-seen, the industry analysis slides, and the financial analysis slides, and top 10 likely issues, the case study familiarization kit. You'd have access to a tutor managed live chat via Twilio, which can be accessed via this website itself. And you'd get your hands on the theory recaps of OTQ syllabus content, so that you can easily brush up your knowledge pertaining to the OTQ syllabus content. And this comes at £199. So let me quickly show you the type of material you'd get your hands on. So this is what a typical annotated pre-seen which we develop looks like. So as you can see, as part of these annotations, the intention of developing this annotated pre-seen is to summarize the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-seen, so that you need not go through pages and pages and paragraphs of information. Instead, by simply looking at the summaries which we have provided, it makes your life easy when it comes to remembering the most important points. And as part of these annotations, I've also highlighted probable exam scenarios can be tested, as well as the theoretical elements or knowledge areas which are tested at your exam. And all these scenarios which we have mentioned as part of the annotations and all the theoretical elements which we mentioned are covered via our 5 mock exams. Then these the type of industry analysis slides you'd get your hands on. It gives you an indication about market dynamics, the competitive landscape, the segmentation, industry trends, and at the very end, real life examples are provided based on 2 real life companies, so that you are in a position to easily understand about the technicalities pertaining to your chosen industry. Then at the very end, you would have seen a financial statement. So rather than you trying to evaluate the financial statements on your own, you can easily refer to our financial the financial analysis slides, and easily understand about the financial performance of each and every area of the company. All right. So that's the type of material you would get your hands on if you opt for the value pack, which is priced at £199. And looking at the premium package, this is designed for students, two sets of students actually. So if you're coming through the CIMA exemption route, such as the FLP route, or if you had failed your OCS exam previously, then you have to go for the premium package, because you need all the type of tutor support, one-on-one tutor support, in order to ensure that you end up passing the exam. So if you fail the exam previously, you need to do something in addition, or you need to work smarter relative to the last time in order to pass the exam. So that's why you need to go for the premium package. Or else, if you're coming through the exemption route, most students lack knowledge about theoretical elements. Because of that, they end up failing the exam. The OCS exam is highly technical. It tests your technical knowledge or theoretical knowledge pertaining to theoretical elements. So if you do not know theory, you can't pass the exam. So that's why we have developed the premium package. So it comes with all material which are covered under the value pack. Additionally, you would have access to the online mock exam platform or the learning management system, where you can attempt all 5 mock exams under exam conditions. I said you need to sit in one place and attempt a mock, thereby allocating 3 hours of your time at a stretch. That's exactly what you would do at your real exam. And on top of that, when attempting each mock under our exam platform, you are in a position to effectively practice answering and time management techniques 20 times over, with the intention of championing these techniques which I highlighted in today's webinar. So that's a benefit which you gain if you opt for the premium package, and you'd receive professional marking and one-on-one tutor feedback on mocks 3, 4, and 5, so that you are in a position to easily understand where you stand as a student. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback which we provide at TCS. So as you can see throughout the answer script, on a paragraph by paragraph basis, I've provided feedback, and you'd receive similar feedback if you opt for the premium package. And at the very end, the marks are provided on a subtask by subtask basis. And we have also computed a success rate, which indicates the subtasks in which you have done a good job. So if you look at this student's answer script, this student had achieved good marks for subtask 1A, subtask 2B, and subtask 3A. And once you receive feedback, utilizing 1 or 2 days, you should focus on developing answer plans for the subtasks in which you have not achieved the required level of success rate. So the student needs to go through all these areas in which the marks are not up to standard. So if you practice on developing answer plans again, so that's the type of revision which you need. Then after you have redeveloped your answer plans, you can easily compare it to our answer plans which we provide, and again see what your shortcomings are. So that's as if you are going through a mock 3 times over before passing on to this next mock. Okay, so keep adhering to these methodologies. If you do, you can gain extremely good marks, and at the very end, general comments are provided as well. All right, so that's the type of one-to-one tutor feedback you'd receive, and just like and you'd get your hands on the answer plans of all mocks, and you'd get access to 20 pre-recorded master classes where I'm explaining the answers of all mocks. Whilst explaining, I'll be teaching you theory, as well as ensuring you improve your application skills, and ensuring that you understand what type of pre-seen relevant information needs to be provided within your answers. So I just like I explained the logic behind each answer in today's session, I'm adhering to a similar methodology across all 20 master classes which we have recorded so far, and all these answer explanations or 20 master classes are carried out based on the answer plans. So you saw what an answer plan looks like, and based on these answer plans, I'm explaining all the questions and answers. Thereby we have developed 20 master classes, and this comes with the monthly installment option and a pass guarantee. So please go through the eligibility criteria to figure out what the pass guarantee is about, and how you can claim the pass guarantee. I'm not going to take you through the nitty-gritties because we are running out of time. So simply put, if you end up investing on the premium package yet failing the exam, and if you fulfill the eligibility criteria, you would get access to the premium package once more in your subsequent sitting free of charge. So we have come up with eligibility criteria with the intention of ensuring that you are serious when it comes to preparations. So if you fulfill all the requirements, there's absolutely no way that you would end up failing the exam. That's the pass guarantee which we provide. So the students who end up sticking to the study plan which we provide and utilize our material according to the study plan end up gaining more than 100 marks, especially those who opt for the premium package. So the price of the package is £549, and you can pay in full and save £50, thereby having the ability to purchase the package at £499, or else you can opt for 2 installment payments amounting to £275. And according to the study plan, within this week, we are in week number 3. So within this week, you are supposed to attempt mock number 2, watch the 4 master classes which are relevant for mock number 2, and refer to the answer plans which are relevant for mock number 2. So if you are yet to start preparations, it's high time you do it. Do not wait until the last moment. Start attempting your mocks right now. Okay, so then moving on to the last part of today's webinar, I said that I'll be highlighting about what you need to do to rebound from failure, especially if you failed your previous exam. So first things first, you need to understand whether you gave your best or not. So you have to be involved with a personal reflection, because you yourself need to understand what your shortcomings are. So try to figure out where you went wrong in your exam. You need to diagnose the reasons first and address this time. Or else you'd keep on committing the same mistakes over and over again. Take it from me, I know hordes and hordes of students who end up repeating the exam 4 or 5 times over before they pass the exam. Why is this the case? Because they do not try to understand what their shortcomings are on a continuous basis. Every time they attempt a paper or attempt the OCS exam, they keep on continuing the same mistakes. So you need to diagnose the problems first and address them this time, and refer to the mini mock and suggested answers as well as the examiner's report in order to understand the quality of answers or the type of answers you are supposed to develop. I hope you guys understood what is required as with regards to quality by since I took you through the answers and questions of a mini mock. And you might have not opted for tutor feedback last time. So or in other terms, on your own, you might not be in a position to understand what your shortcomings are. If that is the case, it's better to opt for tutor feedback this time. So if you cannot understand what your shortcomings are on your own, the best thing is to listen to a tutor who has the capability of understanding your shortcomings and highlighting them. So you saw the type of feedback which we provide, and the feedback is carried out in a constructive manner so that you are in a position to easily understand what your shortcomings are and get rid of them before you attempt your next OCS exam. And based on these things, you need to come up with an action plan, which is to work smarter than the previous attempt. Okay, so what are the common reasons which leads to failure? And for each type of failure, I will be recommending solutions. So practicing just 2 or 3 mocks, most students, since they run out of time, since they wait until the last 2 weeks, leading up to the exam, they do not have enough time to attempt 5 mock exams. So even if you purchase the premium package, if you attempt only 2 mocks, you can't cover the entire syllabus. If you are to cover the entire syllabus and be conversant with the type of questions which can be thrown at you at the exam in its entirety, you need to practice all 5 mock exams. Even if you purchase the premium package, if you do not attempt all 5 mock exams, you are not getting accustomed to all syllabus areas. And if that is the case, you would end up failing the exam. So it's not too prudent to attempt just 2 or 3 mocks. You have to attempt 5 mock exams. And when it comes to practicing mocks, if you did not practice mocks under simulated exam conditions, then that leads to inefficiencies as well. So I've seen so many students out there, in a typical mock paper, it consists of 4 main tasks. So at the exam, you are supposed to sit in one place and attempt all 4 tasks at a stretch, allocating 3 hours of your time. However, when attempting mock exams, you might attempt task 1 on Monday, task 2 on Tuesday, task 3 on Wednesday, and task 4 on Thursday. So you are going for a staggered approach when practicing your mock exams, but at the real exam, you have to concentrate 3 hours at a stretch. So that's not the best way to do it. If you are supposed to sit in one place and concentrate for 3 hours and manage your stress levels within 3 hours, when practicing mock exams, you are supposed to do the same. Okay, so that's exactly why I said it's prudent for you guys to attempt each mock under exam conditions via our exam platform, which is developed to be akin to the Pearson VUE system you'd encounter at your real exam. So it's easy for you to get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques, and you'd be accustomed with the platform, which is going to be significantly beneficial at your real exam. Lack of technical knowledge is a killer, especially given the fact that 80% of the time your theoretical knowledge or conceptual knowledge will be tested at the OCS exam. You are playing the role of an finance officer. As a finance officer, you are involved with the daily running of the company. You are located within the lowest level of the organization. So the knowledge which is tested is mainly focused on the theoretical elements. So if you do not know your theory, there's absolutely no way that you can pass this exam. So this is applicable especially to students who are coming through the exemption route. So if you are coming through FLP, take it from me, although you think that you know your theory, you don't. So if you do not know your theory, you can't pass the exam. So that's exactly why we have developed answer plans for each mock. And based on each task, we have developed, or based on each mock, we have developed master classes. So once you go through these 20 master classes, you'd learn theory, you'd improve your application skills, and you'd significantly improve your answering techniques as well. So if you want to learn theory, absolutely no point of going through your study notes and whatnot, because you'd be wasting time. Instead, you can learn theory directly by watching the master classes. You can easily learn theory by watching the master classes and referring to the answer plans. And when it comes to application of knowledge, if there are shortcomings, just because you know your theory, you can't pass the exam if you do not know how to apply your knowledge, considering the information provided in the scenario. So that's exactly what you saw previously. So if you look at this question, which we considered initially, so disposal of equipment. So up until this point, it's all theoretical knowledge. Just because you write up until this point, you won't gain full marks. If you are to gain full marks, application needs to be brought in. Okay, so you need to improve your application skills. Again, if you watch the 20 master classes, you would know what you're supposed to do. And if you refer to the answer plans and try to replicate these answer plans, then you'd achieve the required level of adherence when it comes to theoretical knowledge and improving your application skills. An inappropriate answering technique is a killer. So most students, 99% of the students out there, they read the question and straight away start typing their answers without spending time to think and plan the answer. So, if you do, you'll definitely end up failing the exam. So in order to avoid this inefficiency, which is a major inefficiency faced by most students attempting OCS, you need to keep practicing our answering techniques, which we highlighted a while back. And mismanagement of time, this problem. So most students end up failing the exam because they run out of time. Because if you run out of time, you'd end up providing half-hearted answers or incomplete answers. If that is the case, you cannot pass the exam. So if you have to pass the exam, you need to manage your time, and the best way to manage your time is to stick to our answering technique. So you are killing two birds with one stone if you stick to our answering methodologies or answering techniques. If you do, you'd manage your time and come up with high quality and well structured answers. Lack of evaluation. So just because you attempt your mock exams, it does not mean that if let's assume you attempt mock number 1 and you do not go through the suggested answer or the answer plan, and you forget about it and you move on to mock number 2. So that is not too suitable, because then if you're not comparing your answer with the answer plans, then you are not in a position to really understand your shortcomings. So you have to compare your answer to the suggested answer or the answer plan. So if you opt for the premium package, this problem is not there, because we are providing the tutor feedback. So you need not evaluate your answer with that of the answer plan which we provide. Instead, we are doing it for you. However, if you opt for the essential and value packs, you need to do this on your own. You need to evaluate your answers on your own. So when doing it, compare your answer to the suggested answer. If not, you are not in a position to really understand what your shortcomings are. As I told you earlier, you need to understand your shortcomings and get rid of them if you want to pass the exam in your next sitting. And not adhering to a study plan is a killer, and this leads to a situation where you are stressed and you are trying to do everything 2 weeks leading up to the exam. So if that is the case, chances of you passing is extremely low. So we have provided a study plan as part of our website itself. So on a weekly basis, try to keep track of what you're supposed to do. We are conducting weekly webinars and workshops. So on a weekly basis, try to adhere to the study plan, and towards the weekend, I will be getting in touch with you. Even if you do not invest on our services or the products which we offer, still I'm ready to help you guys out. So on a weekly basis, try to attempt a mock. If that is the case, then you'd have questions, and whenever you have questions, you can raise them at the webinar or workshop. So if you're yet to invest on study material and mock exams, do it right now, because money spent now is and can be considered as an investment compared to you purchasing the package 2 weeks before the exam. If that is the case, even if you have the best packages and services at your disposal, you won't have enough time to complete all the requirements or complete all exercises pertaining to your preparation. So if you are planning on investing on paid content, do it now itself. Do not wait until the last moment. If so, you would be wasting your money and effort unnecessarily. So, we are happy to mention that we have achieved 4 national ranks pertaining to the 2022 exam window, and the results were publicized last week. And one of our students who appeared for the OCS exam in the last sitting, which was May 2023 sitting, has achieved 111 marks. Usually, when a student gets more than 105 or 110 marks, it leads to a national prize. So I'm pretty sure that this student has achieved a similar feat as well. So already within the year 2022, we have developed 4 national rank holders, and all these individuals, in order to get the national rank, they did not do everything under the sun. Instead, they simply stuck to our study plan and attempted a mock per week. Because of that, a week before the exam, they were relaxing. They faced their exams with a positive attitude. They faced their exams with an open mind. Because of that, they were able to end up getting national ranks. So you can achieve the same if you stick to our study plan and attempt a mock per week. All right, so let me also remind you about the £50 discount which we offer on the OCS premium package, which can be purchased via the website or claimed. This offer can be claimed by purchasing via the website itself. All right, any questions, folks? So I've been talking for the past 2 hours. I said that this session is going to be quite long. So that's exactly what we have achieved. So any questions before we move on to the last parts of the webinar? Any questions, folks? Any concerns? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm going to conclude the session. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or simply email us on info@study@tcs.com, or call me or drop me a message via WhatsApp on this number. And I urge you guys to follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok, because we have already uploaded. I hope you guys check these TikTok videos out. We have already uploaded 3 TikTok videos which covers the entire pre-scene document. So within 9 minutes, you can constantly keep reminding yourself about the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene document. So this is the best mind map you can have access to. So watch, follow us on TikTok and keep watching these TikTok videos on a regular basis, so that you can easily remember the most important points which appear within the pre-scene. And if you remember the points, you can easily mention them when developing your answers. All right, so having said that, it brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope you guys gained something out of this session. I hope to see you next week, where I'll be taking you through examiners' comments and highlighting what you need to do to achieve a higher level of positivity. Thank you very much and take care.